Greetings and salutations, all y'all. I want to welcome you to another episode of Getting Stoned with your host, Mr. Stone Petoskey. Yeah, so good to be back here, sending all these good vibes out to all y'all. I hope you're feeling irie. I hope you know that you are beautiful, that you are lovable, that you are a miracle, that you are alive to live another day. What a blessing that is. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling down, if you have your frown upon your face, if your heart is broken, oh man, I send out so much love to you. And I say, let's all wrap up in a big hug. Yes. Feel that love, feel that connection. The not to-ness of life. We are spiraling together infinitely, eternally, divinely, magically. Ha! Oh, yeah. Feels good, huh? Thank you so much for stopping on by. I appreciate you. We got another sunny, beautiful day here. Oh, so grateful. So grateful. I was thinking, the one and the only true wealth is health. Yeah. I don't know if any of y'all, well, I'm sure some of y'all have been unhealthy. Your body is in pain, or your heart, your mind, you're suffering. And I know I've been there. Indeed. And when your health isn't right, there ain't nothing right. So from my perspective, the one and only true wealth is health. So I wish for all you all good health, many blessings. If you are suffering, I wish for you healing and peace. Yeah. Yeah. So it's Memorial Day. So I want to say thank you and extend my prayers to all those soldiers, not only here in America, but anywhere in the whole wide world, who have lost their lives fighting for their country, what they believe in, what they don't believe in. It can be a very confusing proposition, war. There's so much suffering involved. And I don't claim to know, so please don't misunderstand. I was never a soldier. I was never a member of any of the armed forces. So I don't have any genuine understanding. But I still do want to say and extend my prayers, my gratitude, and healing, and to any and all soldiers who have lost their lives. Yeah. And maybe one day, although I'm not really convinced that that's what life on earth is about, but I'll say it anyhow. one day the human race will live in peace. We can dream. So in honor of this Memorial Day, I'm going to read from one of my favorite books on the subject of war. It was written by an American Marine. He was a Major General Smedley Butler, and he wrote a small little book entitled War Is A Racket. And I'm going to read chapter 1, which title is exactly that. Let's jump on into it. Smedley Butler, y'all. Rest in peace, brother, and I have to say thank you so much for writing this book. You know, when these kinds of words come out of a 4-star Major General in the Marine Corps, one of the most highly decorated soldiers in American history, I tend to think that the words he speaks have a certain authenticity to them that is hard to find out there in these days, and most particularly when you are speaking about war. So let's do this. Chapter 1, War is a Racket. It always has been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one intentional in scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to the majority of the people. Only a small inside group knows what it is about. It is conducted for the benefit of the very few at the expense of the very many. Out of a war, a few people make huge fortunes. In the World War I, a mere handful garnered the profits of the conflict. At least 21,000 new millionaires and billionaires were made in the United States during World War I. That many admitted their huge blood gains in their income tax returns. How many other war millionaires falsified their tax returns? No one knows. How many of those war millionaires shouldered a rifle? How many of them dug a trench? How many of them knew what it meant to go hungry in a rat-infested dugout? How many of them spent sleepless, frightened nights ducking shells and shrapnel and machine gun bullets? How many of them parried a bayonet thrust of an enemy? How many of them were wounded or killed in battle? Out of war, nations acquire additional territory. If they are victorious, they just take it. This newly acquired territory promptly is exploited by the few, the self-same few who wrung dollars out of blood in the war. The general public shoulders the bill. And what is this bill? The bill renders a horrible accounting. Newly placed gravestones, mangled bodies, shattered minds, broken hearts and bones, and homes. Economic instability, depression, and all its attendant miseries. Back-breaking taxation for generations and generations. For a great many years as a soldier, I had a suspicion that war was a racket. Not until I retired to civil life did I finally realize it. Now that I see the international war clouds gathering, as they are again today, I must face it and speak out. Again, they are choosing sides. France and Russia met and agreed to stand side by side. Italy and Austria hurried to make a similar agreement. Poland and Germany cast sheep's eyes at each other, forgetting for the one unique occasion their dispute over the Polish corridor. The assassination of King Alexander of Yugoslavia complicated matters. Yugoslavia and Hungary, long bitter enemies, were almost at each other's throats. Italy was ready to jump in, but France was waiting. So was Czechoslovakia. All of them are looking ahead to war. Not the people, not those who fight and pay and die, only those who foment wars and remain safely at home to profit. There are 40 million men under arms in the world today, and our statesmen and diplomats have the temerity to say that war is not in the making. Hell's bells! Are these 40 million men being trained to be dancers? Not in Italy, to be sure. Premier Mussolini knows what they are being trained for. He, at least, is frank enough to speak out. Only the other day, El Duce in International Conciliation, the publication of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, said, and above all, fascism, the more it considers and observes the future and the development of humanity quite apart from political considerations of the moment, believes neither in the possibility nor the utility of perpetual peace. War alone brings up to its highest version, highest tension, all human energy and puts the stamp of nobility upon the people who have the courage to meet it. Undoubtedly, Mussolini means exactly what he says. His well-trained army, his great fleet of planes, and even his navy are ready for war, anxious for it, apparently. His recent stand at the side of Hungary in the latter's dispute with Yugoslavia showed that. And the hurried mobilization of his troops on the Austrian border after the assassination of Dollfuss showed it too. There are others in Europe too whose saber-rattling presages war sooner or later. Herr Hitler, with his rearming Germany and his constant demands for more and more arms, is an equal, if not greater, menace to peace. France only recently increased the term of military service for its youth from a year to 18 months. Yes, all over nations are camping in their arms. The mad dogs of Europe are on the loose. In the Orient, the maneuvering is more adroit. Back in 1904, when Russia and Japan fought, we kicked off our old friends, the Russians, and backed Japan. Then our very generous international bankers were financing Japan. Now the trend is to poison us against the Japanese. What does the open door policy to China mean to us? Our trade with China is about 90 million a year. Or the Philippine Islands. We have spent about 600 million in the Philippines in 35 years, and we, our bankers and industrialists and speculators, have private investments there of less than 200 million. Then, to save the China trade of about 90 million, or to pretend these private investments of less than 200 million in the Philippines, we would all be stirred up to hate Japan and go to war. A war that might well cost us tens of billions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of lives of Americans, and many more hundreds of thousands of physically maimed and mentally unbalanced men. Of course, for this loss, there would be a compensating profit. Fortunes would be made. Millions and billions of dollars would be piled up by a few. Munitions makers, bankers, shipbuilders, manufacturers, meat packers, speculators, they would fare well. Yes, they are getting ready for another war. Why shouldn't they? It pays high dividends. But what does it profit the men who are killed? What does it profit their mothers and sisters, their wives and their sweethearts? What does it profit their children? What does it profit anyone except the very few whom to whom war means huge profits? Yes. And what does it profit the nation? Take our own case. Until 1898, we didn't own a bit of territory outside the mainland of North America. At that time, our national debt was a little more than $1 billion. Then we became internationally minded. We forgot or shunted aside the advice of the father of our country. We forgot George Washington's warning about entangling alliances. We went to war. We acquired outside territory. At the end of the World War period, as a direct result of our fiddling in international affairs, our national debt had jumped to over $25 billion. Our total favorable trade balance during the 25-year period was about $24 billion. Therefore, on a purely bookkeeping basis, we ran a little behind year for year. And that foreign trade might as well have been ours without the wars. It would have been far cheaper, not to say safer, for the average American who pays the bills to stay out of foreign entanglements. For a very few, this racket, like bootlegging and other underworld rackets, brings fancy profits. But the cost of operations is always transferred to the people who do not profit. Major General Smedley Butler of the United States Marine Corps. Thank you, brother. Thank you for the courage to write these words, to speak these words. I encourage you to finish this book. There's 4 more chapters. It's an incredible piece of work. Heartbreaking, indeed. But sometimes the truth has that effect. You know what? I'm going to read the last chapter right now, just because I'm on the roll. Chapter 5, to hell with war. I'm not a fool as to believe that war is a thing of the past. I know the people do not want war, but there is no use in saying we cannot be pushed into another war. Looking back, Woodrow Wilson was reelected in 1916 on a platform that he had kept us out of war, and on the implied promise that he would keep us out of war. Yet 5 months later, he asked Congress to declare war on Germany. In that 5-month interval, the people had not been asked whether they had changed their minds. The 4 million young men who put on uniforms and marched to sail away were not asked whether they wanted to go forth to suffer and die. Then what caused our government to change its mind so suddenly? Money. An Allied commission, it may be recalled, came over shortly before the war declaration and called on the president. The president summoned a group of advisors. The head of the commission spoke. Stripped of its diplomatic language, this is what he told the president and his group. There is no use kidding ourselves any longer. The cause of the Allies is lost. We now owe you, American bankers, American munitions makers, American manufacturers, American speculators, and American exporters, $5 or $6 billion. If we lose, and without the help of the United States, we must lose, we, England, France, and Italy cannot pay back this money. And Germany won't. Had secrecy been outlawed as far as war negotiations were concerned, and had the press been invited to be present at that conference, or had radio been available to broadcast the proceedings, America never would have entered the World War II. But this conference, like all war discussions, was shrouded in utmost secrecy. When our boys were sent off to war, they were told it was a, quote, war to make the world safe for democracy, unquote, and a, quote, war to end all wars, unquote. Well, 18 years later, the world is less of democracy than it had been. Besides, what business is it of ours, whether Russia or Germany or England or France or Italy or Austria, to live under democracies or monarchies, whether they are fascists or communists? Our problem is to preserve our own democracy. And very little, if anything, has been accomplished to assure us that the World War was really the war to end all wars. Yes, we have had disarmament conferences and limitations of arms conferences. They don't mean a damn thing. One has just failed. The results of another have been nullified. We send our professional soldiers and our sailors and our politicians and our diplomats to these conferences, and what happens? The professional soldiers and sailors don't want to disarm. No admiral wants to be without a ship. No general wants to be without a command. Both mean men without jobs. They are not for disarmament. They cannot be for limitations of arms. And at all these conferences, lurking in the background, but all powerful just the same, are the sinister agents of those who profit by war. They see to it that these conferences do not disarm or seriously limit armaments. The chief aim of any power at any of these conferences has not been to achieve disarmament or prevent war, but rather to get more armament for itself and less for any potential foe. There is only one way to disarm with any semblance of practicability. That is for all nations to get together and scrap every ship, every gun, every rifle, every tank, every warplane. Even this, if it were possible, would not be enough. The next war, according to experts, will be fought not with battleships, not by artillery, not with rifles, and not with machine guns. It will be fought with deadly chemicals and gases. Secretly, each nation is studying and perfecting newer and ghastlier means of annihilating its foes wholesale. Yes, ships will continue to be built, for the shipbuilders must make their profits. And guns still will be manufactured, and powder and rifles will be made, for the munitions makers must make their huge profits. And the soldiers, of course, must wear uniforms, for the manufacturer must make their war profits too. But victory or defeat will be determined by the skill and ingenuity of our scientists. If we put them to work making poison gas and more fiendish mechanical and explosive instruments of destruction, they will have no time for the constructive job of building greater prosperity for all people. By putting them to this useful job, we can all make more money out of peace than we can out of war. So I say, to hell with war. Major General Smedley Butler. Thank you, brother. All right, let's read a poem here. I'm going to open up here. We got a poem written by a woman whose name is Patti Smith. If you don't know who Patti Smith is, go check it out, man. This woman's a legend, in my opinion. This is her poem called Notes for the Future. What did we want? What did we ever want? To shake the fragile hands of time, to rip from their sockets deceiving eyes, to ride through the night in a three-cornered hat against the shadows, to cry, awake, awake, wake up arms, delicate feet, we are paramount and obsolete. Wake up throat, wake up limbs, our mantle pressed from palm to palm. Wake up hearts dressed in rags, costly garments fall away. Dangle now truthful threads that bind the breast and wind the muscle of the soul and hold together. Listen, my children, and you shall hear the sound of your own steps, the sound of your hereafter. Memory awaits and turns to greet you, draping its banner across your wrists. Wake up arms, delicate feet, for as one to march the streets, each alone, each part of another, Your steps shall ring, shall raise the cloud, and that they that will hear. Voice of the one and the one and the one, as it has never been uttered before. For something greater yet to come than the hour of the prophets in their great cities. For the people of Nineveh fell to their knees, heeding the cry of Jonah, united, covering themselves in sackcloth and ashes, and called to their God. And all their hearts were at one heart, and all their voices were as one voice. God heard them, and his mind was moved. Yet something greater will come to pass. And who will call? And what will they call? Will they call to God, the air, the fowl? It will not matter if the call is true. They shall call, and this is known. One voice, and each another shall enter the dead. The living flower enters form that we know not, to be felt by sea, by air, by earth, and shall be an elemental pledge. This is our birthright. This our charge. We have given over to others, and they have not done well. And the forests mourn, the leaves fall. Swaddling forests mourn, the leaves fall. Swaddling babes watch and wonder as the fathers of our spirit nations dance in the streets in celebration. As the mountains turn pale from their nuclear hand, and they have not done well. Now, my children, you must overturn the tables. Deliver the future from material rule. For the only rule to be considered is the 11th commandment, to love one another. And this is our covenant. Across your wrist, this offering is yours. To adore, adorn, to buy, to burn upon a mound, to hail, to set away. It is merely a cloth, merely our colors, invested with the blood of a people, all their hopes and dreams. It has its excellence, yet it is nothing. It shall not be a tyranny above us, nor should God, nor love, nor nature. Yet we hold as our pleasure this tender honor, that we acknowledge the individual and the common ground formed. And if our cloth be raised and lowered half-mast, what does this tell us? An individual has passed, saluted and mourned by his countrymen. This ritual extends to us all, for we are all the individual, no unknown, no insignificant one, nor insignificant labor, nor act of charity. Each has a story to be told and retold, which shall be as a glowing thread in the fabric of man. And the children shall march and bring the colors forward, investing within them the redeeming blood of their revolutionary hearts. Damn, Patti. Oh. Patti Smith, y'all. Patti Smith. Notes for the future. Amen, sister. Whew. I love all y'all. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really, truly do appreciate it. I really do. I want you to know, feel that love, feel that appreciation, that gratitude. One love, y'all. One love. All right, let's do a little tune here. It's an original I wrote. I'm sure I've done it before on the show, but that's where my head's at right now. Each one of us is a star, came to this world from near and far, blessed with a gift that is ours to share. Giving is living, show the world you care. This is your one chance. Don't hold back. Dream your biggest dream. There's nothing you lack. We're all in this together, truly as one. So love without your heart, bright like the sun. Yeah, each one of us is a star. Thank you so much for listening. I really do. Thank you so much. Yeah, peace and love to all y'all. Peace and love to all y'all. And a hug, a big old hug too. Until next time, y'all. This is Storm Petoskey saying peace.